Do I still believe in Manta? The answer is yes. And is $20 still my price target, hypothetically, for it during this war? The answer to that is also yes for me. Even though I can't speak on anyone's behalf, even though nothing I say is financial advice, the way to take a look at it is that despite the price pullback, despite things going down, generally speaking, I do believe that better days are ahead when it comes to something like Manta because the fundamentals does speak for itself. And as to when I think things could very well peak in terms of altcoins, I'm going to get a little bit later on into that in the video. However, I first want to talk about the rock solid fundamentals of Manta and just explain basically what it's all about. Now, let's take a look at Manta, for instance, right? It's even been stated that, of course, the Manta network does offer two networks, the first being Manta Pacific and the second being Manta Atlantic. Now, let's discuss this in greater detail. If we take a look at something like Manta Pacific, first of all, right, it's the modular layer 2 ecosystem on Ethereum for Ethereum Virtual Machine native ZK applications. Now, Ethereum Virtual Machine also stands for EVM and ZK stands for Zero Knowledge. Now, let's break this down because first of all, let's talk about the layer 2 aspect when it comes to this, right? We take a look at why is a Ethereum layer 2 so beneficial? It's because when we take a look at Ethereum, it can't be denied that gas fees are sky high. Also, Ethereum is arguably not even scalable. But then the big, thing is the fact that it has so much fans, the ecosystem is amazing, adoption is so fantastic. So it's kind of like, oh man, something so amazing, but kind of annoying to enjoy. What is a way to do that, right? Again, through Ethereum layer 2, basically, it allows Ethereum to be enjoyed while at the same time not having to deal with all of that nonsense, right? So that's why I like that. Now, of course, again, when I say this, though, some people may be thinking, oh, yeah, layer 2s, they're not that special, man. I mean, this is not that great and all this type of stuff. Well, again, here's where things get a little bit more cooking because if we take a look at ZK, right, again, aka Zero Knowledge technology is very fantastic because, for instance, through Zero Knowledge technology, not only does it make things a lot more scalable, but then at the same time, it enhances privacy. So again, very scalable, very private. This is a total game changer, at least in my opinion. Now, let's take a look at the second aspect, which is, let's say, Manta Atlantic, right? Let's take a look at Manta Atlantic because it allegedly is the fastest ZK, again, Zero Knowledge, layer 1 chain on Polkadot. Now, Polkadot is very amazing, but before I talk about that, right, we take a look at on the Manta network, there's currently a total value lock that is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and there's over 200 projects as well. So again, that's very fantastic. Now, if you take a look at, the Manta ecosystem, there are many projects on there related to DeFi, aka decentralized finance, gaming and the metaverse. So it's starting to head up there when it comes to something like, Manta, right? I think it's doing pretty good. And now people may be thinking, okay, when it comes to Manta Atlantic allegedly being the fastest ZK layer 1 blockchain on Polkadot, why is that so good? Now, here's where I talk about Polkadot, because when you take a look at Polkadot, right, it basically aims to connect blockchains together. Now, it's focused on something called interoperability, right? Now, why is this something that's very crucial? It's because when you take a look at there's many networks, many blockchains out there, but for the most part, they can't freely send data and value to each other, meaning that, again, they lack something called interoperability. So Polkadot basically steps in and tries to save the day, right? When you take a look at a very popular example of something like this, we take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum. They can't freely send data and value to each other. So what's a hypothetical solution? Something like Polkadot. So again, Polkadot does play a very vital role. So again, when I see Manta Atlantic allegedly becoming, or should I say is allegedly, right, the fastest ZK layer 1 chain on Polkadot, isn't that good? That's just the way I take a look at it. Now, Polkadot has a support system called Kusama. And when I explain this, it's going to make sense as to why something like the Calamari network for Manta is fantastic. Now, before I talk about Calamari, let's talk about Kusama and its role for Polkadot to understand how special that is. Because if we take a look at Polkadot, it quite essentially has a support system. That's what I like to call it. And that is, again, Kusama. Now, why is Kusama amazing? Let's say a project wants to launch head-on to Polkadot, right? Straight up, I would say, right? They just want to launch on Polkadot. Now, in some cases, people may not want to do that, or developers, because first of all, usually it's a lot more expensive to rent building space. Not to mention, it's far easier to, make changes on Kusama as opposed to Polkadot. So some people out there, what they want to do is that they first launch on Kusama, then if they like it, they move on later to Polkadot. So Kusama is basically this testing ground. Many people would call it that, right? Now, it's not, a must that a project must move on from Kusama to Polkadot, because we take a look at Moon River, which is on, Kusama. It's not like, it's a must that, again, it has to move on to Polkadot. But then still, Kusama kind of acts as like a funneling system, I would say, to Polkadot. It helps attract more developers, more individuals who are looking to build on Polkadot, basically, right? It's basically a support system. Now, people may be thinking, okay, again, how does this matter to something called the Calamari network? Now, the Calamari network is basically something like Kusama, again, like a canary network, but then for Manta, right? So then I think you get the relation there. Now, here's the thing. I just want to mention, on a side note, when you take a look at Calamari, right? When you take a look at Manta Atlantic, Manta Pacific, it's kind of like this ocean-themed, type of like, vibe going on here when it comes to Manta overall, like, the Manta network. But even besides that, again, I just think that's a pretty cool thing to mention. So again, when I take a look at Manta, very special project, very unique. It's not something that really has this, I would say attention as of right now, especially with the price not doing the best. But again, even before that, it's not like Manta had the most hype. But then I do like it because it's a very foundationally strong project. Not to mention, reaching the price of $20 doesn't seem that crazy. If it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $8 billion, which is around a 75x from here, which I don't think is too bad, right? We've seen like, BNB reach over 100 billion. We've seen, Dogecoin reach around 80 billion. We've seen Shiba Inu reach around 40 billion. And this is all back in 2021. As of right now, we have way more crypto owners. We have over 600 million, according to Crypto.com research. Back then in 2021, during the peak of that bull run, only around 300 million crypto owners. I just think this point could be a lot more special. And historically, we do know that usually altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event, which based on the last Bitcoin halving event that happened in April of last year, and that would actually mean around October this year. There's still plenty of time there. Now, I can't say for sure because, of course, history doesn't always repeat itself. However, the way you take a look at it is that I'm still going to pay attention to that because, again, with that many crypto owners, with the Bitcoin ETF, with Ethereum ETF, with the number of institutional investors, with the amount of enterprise adoption, I'm still going to believe that this point is far from over. And again, even historically, as a worst case, this isn't even supposed to be the time yet when altcoins are supposed to peak. So I think better days are ahead. $20, I don't see why not. I'm still going to be acquiring, holding, and just waiting when it comes to Manta because $20 during this bull run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's Willie the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm a peace. Bye.